Once he gets settled on, he might join. So
Okay, okay, no issues.
let's see.
Huh.
So we'll start with procurement. That day you were asking about non-PO based invoice, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So are you clear with that?
Yeah, non-PO invoice are the invoices which are based on contract, not on a PO.
Exactly, not contract. Exactly what it happens is, non-PO based are something without PO are not known as non-PO based. First of all, there should be no PO against that invoice. First of all,
Okay.
so
Okay.
when we create non-PO based invoice means, for suppose for a new PO I'm creating, I mean, I don't want to create PO as of now, but I want supplier to, provide that line item, for suppose. So in that case, we can buyer can create invoice from his end and, maintain it for reporting purpose or whatever. So buyer can create non-PO based invoice. Getting my point?
But on what basis, Rakesh? Like there should be some, communication. There should be some contract or basis or PO basis. Then we create an invoice so that payment will be done. But for non-PO invoice, what is the basis?
Basis in the sense, see, what happens sometimes in the emergency or in a critical situation, they don't wait for creating PO and let it go for approval flow. So in that case, they order it offline, the procurement
Okay.
manager or the sourcing manager, whatever. So they'll send it through mail or something, whatever process by call. So they have to maintain, for maintaining, this thing, they'll create an invoice from their end, buyer end. Generally, invoice will be created from supplier end, right? So supplier won't create PO based invoice here. If it's against a contract, like any contract, they can create, supplier can create. But in case of there is no PO at all, buyer has to create from his own end. We'll see how it goes. We'll see when we solution, right?
So buyer creates an invoice for non-PO.
Yes, yes. I'll show you how. See, you are clear, right? I mean, invoice will be created or sent by supplier, right? That is ideal situation. Any
Correct.
case, supplier will. But in non-PO based
Correct.
invoice, buyer can create from his own end, stating that this is a non-PO based invoice. He'll mention all information in that invoice. Maybe when
Like
we see the system, you'll get little more clarity.
yeah, one more question, Rakesh. Like, but this, pricing, everything. How do he get that information? The pricing, quantity, the terms and conditions, or something.
It comes with the line item, Karthik. Line item
So
details will be
pricing.
there.
So he has to enter manually the item, quantity, price also, right? If suppose a contract is there, automatically price comes. But for
Yes.
non-PO invoice, there is no contract. Then how does this price the buyer manually puts? Like what is his vision? Will he can put it? No, right? So there should be something according to which he put the price in that. He keys the price. So on what basis it is?
Just give me a moment.
Uh-huh.
I was just reading about that day before yesterday when you asked me. What's that?
In
Okay,
our
we'll see.
project,
Karthik,
okay.
we'll see the system. Maybe we'll get a little idea. I think. What you say?
Okay.
I
Yeah, yeah.
mean,
Okay.
because we can create non-PO based invoice from our end, right, as a buyer. So while creating, we can see. Getting my point?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that. If we complete it, this presentation quickly, and we'll see. Okay.
Okay.
So this is a standard procurement process in Ariba. I mean, not only in Ariba, in any e-procurement process, this is standard. We select goods or services from the catalog. We enforce. I mean, we let it go for approval flow. Once we select, that is nothing but requisition. Once we request for goods or services, we let it go for approvals. Once those are approved, it will be converted into PO, and we receive the goods. Once we receive, we do reconciliation. After reconciliation, we pay. Just a moment. We pay against that PO. I'm sorry, Karthik. So,
No.
So this is a standard procurement process in any e-procurement. You can see, the reason behind procurement, Ariba procurement is much unique than other like ECC procurement. The best part in Ariba, you can find that catalogs are not there in ECC. If you notice.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to select the goods or services from catalog. We can select, we can see, compare it with other catalogs. It's very easy. And apart from that, the UI, the usage of Ariba, we need not to have any transaction codes, or we need not to go from one screen to another. It's like shopping in Flipkart or any e-commerce site. So it's very easy to use. We have catalogs in place. We can select easily from the UI itself. You can compare each and every line item with other line items using catalogs. So it's very easy to use the procurement cycle in Ariba. So now let's see how it carries out a procurement. Do you have any doubt, Karthik?
No.
Yeah. So this is Ariba procurement cycle. It might look like as simple as in any other e-procurement cycle. It starts with catalog, selecting line item while creating a requisition. So supplier can update his catalog in Ariba network. From there, a buyer can pull the catalogs into his system by approving those. So catalogs can be three types. One is simple catalog, and other is punch out catalog, and non-catalog items. So you know the difference between these, right? Do you want me to explain?
Rakesh, I want to know about non-catalog. Sorry, sound.
Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll explain about three catalogs. So basically catalogs are normal, simple catalogs are uploaded by suppliers to network, and from there it will be sent to buyer. So buyer has to approve those catalogs. Approving in the sense whether the price is okay or not, whether these catalogs are relevant to my organization or not. So he has to check those and approve those catalogs. Once he is approving those catalogs, it will be reflected in the solution. As I showed you that day, we can select from the catalog available in our solution. So once catalog manager approves those catalog, it will be available in our system to select. So first is catalog. Here supplier has to upload those catalog to network, and from network it will be redirected to buyer. And non-catalog items. Sometimes what happen, our requirement is something, very typical requirement where we have to specify that, this item should be of this configuration or this size or this, so which is not there with the supplier. So when we specify it clearly, then only they'll get to know, okay, this is the requirement. So in that case, we can create our own non-catalog where we have to specify all our requirement in a form and send it across to the supplier. So those are known as non-catalog items, where we have to specify each and everything, right? Where we don't have any catalog for that item, we have to specify that. So that is known as non-catalog item, right? Coming to punch out item. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
So coming to punch out item, which is, supplier might have, so many items as their catalog. I mean, like millions of items for their catalog. So it's very hard for supplier to maintain and, any changes in those catalog and send it across to network again, and it will be approved. So it's very hard for suppliers to maintain the catalogs in network. So what they do, they maintain their own site with catalog, where when we do requisition, we have to go to select punch out item, we have to go to their website, select the line item, and we can check out from there. So that's the reason it's known as punch out. From their side, we punch out, we select the line item, we punch out from there, and we can get back to our Ariba site. So these are three types of catalogs available in Ariba. Do you have any doubts in this?
Yes, Rakesh. Actually, these punch-out catalogs, the commodity code we select, right?
Yes,
So
commodity code.
those commodity codes are UNSPC specific, or like the supplier should be maintaining it as UNSPC.
See, we can have commodity mappings as well. So it's not mandatory that generally they maintain UNSPC code. If they are not maintaining also, we can have mapping for that. Anyway, we are coming through network, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we punch out, we're punching in through network itself.
Correct.
Getting my point? You know
Yeah,
where
yeah, correct.
the URL site URL will be there. It will be there in
Yeah,
network.
yeah.
When we select that, we'll be going. So UNSP code, UNSPC code will be there. If not, mapping should be there.
Mapping means what, Rakesh? Like UNSPC codes to our company,
Custom codes.
organization by your organization.
Custom codes.
Uh-huh. Custom codes.
Yeah.
And this non-catalog, actually, I'll tell one requirement. Actually, in our recent office, in our office, recently they have taken these paper cups. So for our building or for our office building, they need some around 30,000 cups for employees them to they give. So now the organization has to create, they want to create a non-catalog because they don't want to go for sourcing for these items. It waste of time.
Okay.
So, like, how is the process? Like, if the buyer or the
No,
person they has
no,
created all
you're
this.
getting into no, you're getting into wrong assumption. What happens? It's not like It's not like, if you don't want to go to sourcing process, you have to create non-catalog. It's not like that. See, what
Yeah,
happens,
yeah,
our requirement is something, for suppose I have, okay, I'll take one example. We have a catalog of cars, like you have Maruti, Suzuki, Swift, i20, for suppose duster, whatever. So I want a car which is hatchback, and I have my own requirement. I should have power windows. I should have power steering with mounted, controls, cruise controls, and I should have some wheels. I mean, with Mac wheels. So I am giving my own requirement. Though I have a catalog of cars, I have list of cars, but I am giving my own requirement. Even if you want, you can go for sourcing of that requirement, your own requirement. You can go for sourcing, and if you want, you can go directly and buy from one supplier. If you know that, yeah, this supplier can provide me, you can go ahead and directly buy that. If you don't know that this supplier might supply or not, you can go for sourcing. So sourcing is not at all matter here for non-catalog item. From requisition, you can create a sourcing request or sourcing project. Getting my point? Karthik. Hello. Hello.
Rakesh, could you hear me? No?
Yeah, I can
Hello?
hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. The requirement is like this. Suppose a requester don't exact product category, commodity code. So he just mentions in the description what all he needs.
Yes.
So now the buyer in the approval flow has to check who is the supplier can do all these things. Is it? Who is
As a
the
buyer, yes.
supplier? Yeah. Buyer comes in the approval flow, and buyer has to key in the correct supplier.
Yeah, he has to check.
Right?
Yes.
He has to check the correct supplier, and he has to give the commodity code accordingly.
No, commodity code is not mandatory when you create a non-catalog item, because you don't know, right? Commodity code
Okay.
doesn't come into picture when you create a non-catalog item.
So there is no field for commodity code actually. For non-catalog
No,
item, there is no field. Material group commodity code,
no,
no field at all.
no. We have to give the requirement, but we need to give commodity field.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what happens if you know the supplier, you can go ahead and directly create a non-catalog item and send it for requisition. If you don't know the supplier, you'll create a non-catalog item, send it for requisition, and you will create a sourcing project to select the supplier and negotiate with them. Getting my point? If you know the supplier, you go ahead and
Yeah.
directly create requisition. If you don't know, you'll
Yeah.
send it for sourcing request.
Okay. Okay. Last question. Actually, there should be a contract to order to a supplier. There should be a contract in place for
For
one
what?
commodity. For a commodity, for an item. Suppose I need one
Catalog
lap,
you're saying.
one
For catalog you're saying.
for non-catalog. So I'm assuming, suppose that I need only one, some 10 laptops or something, and I don't want to go for sourcing because I don't want to go for sourcing. I just want to whatever price he gives, I want to take it out. So is it like this? It goes.
Yeah, it is pretty much possible. It's not mandatory to have contract. It's not mandatory to have contract. So contract is nothing but, as we know, it's to just follow the compliance, rules and regulations. If you don't want it to be there, it's not mandatory.
Okay.
And as I am saying, in Ariba solution, everything individually comes, like bits and pieces. You want to go for procurement, you can go with only procurement. Sourcing and contract management are not required. Or if you want to maintain sourcing and contract management with any other system out of Ariba, you can pretty much go ahead and do that. So it's not mandatory to have all the solution, and it's not mandatory according to your requirement. It's not mandatory to have contract or sourcing to create a PO or a requisition.
Okay.
Is that
Okay,
clear?
Ratish. You can, yeah, you can go ahead. Thank you.
So as of now, you are implementing a P2 or what, or you are working on procurement, is it?
SRM, self-service procurement I'm working on, but there's an Ariba team, so I just, whenever I get time, I'll go and sit with them. I have some friends in that team.
So are they implementing any project?
No, no, SAP Inc. has implemented that project, and those people are supporting, and for them, the SAP Inc. is giving the KT
Okay, okay. So
for support purpose.
okay, okay, got it, got it. So procurement, it comes with only main issues where we come, where it comes, right? Mainly for approval flow, accounting details. Are they using any ERP as a backend? I mean, what ERP they're using?
They're using ECC, SAP ECC and SAP PI as a middleware.
Yeah, yeah, PIE for integration, but the ECC they're using, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
main
yeah.
issues comes for support is like approval flows. Sometimes what happens, one person comes suddenly one person comes into approval flow where he is not required. Suddenly some person don't come where he has to come. So because of some field selection or wrong accounting detail selection. So generally accounting details comes from ECC to Ariba because Ariba don't have any accounting fields according to Ariba. So every accounting field comes with ECC. So in that case, there will be so many issues. So main issues comes with approval flows and all. Okay, let's get into this. So one supplier uploads his catalog to network, buyer can access those after approving. Once buyer has the access to catalog, he selects from any one of the catalog or he punch out, he goes to the punch out cell and select the catalog if it's required. Once the catalog is selected, requisition is created. It will, after approval, it will go for purchase order. So requisition can be converted to PO or it can be sent for a sourcing request, as I said. So after PO is created, it will go for supplier. So once supplier receives the PO, he gives the order acknowledgement as a order confirmation or priorly it was not there that order rejection, but now he can even reject the order. Order rejection is also there. So that is nothing but order confirmation or order rejection. Once the acknowledgement is done with the buyer, he'll, if any change order, he'll go for the change order if it's required, and it will again go to the supplier. He'll give the change order acknowledgement. Once that is done, change order acknowledgement is done, supplier will give the status of the PO. So it keeps on updating, the status of the PO keeps on updating. So once it's shipped, it will, the goods are shipped, supplier will give the ship notice, send the ship notice to the buyer, and buyer has to give the receipt. Once he received the goods, he has to give the receipt to the supplier. So all this process, once the all process is done, once the buyer is receiving goods, generates receipt, supplier has to create invoice against that receipt, and reconciliation will be done in this phase. Once the invoice is created, reconciliation is done. So we have two-way reconciliation, three-way reconciliation. Right? I explained you. Two-way means PO and invoice. Three-way means PO, invoice, and receipt will be matched. So once after matching, reconciliation is done, buyer has to pay the payment to supplier. So this is complete process how it goes in Ariba. So you have any doubts in this? I mean, this is standard process, I think.
That is this invoicing. Can you explain this? First, account payable team, one of account payable team person create an invoice. Is it according to goods received?
Supplier team has to create.
Sorry. Supplier team creates invoice initially according to the no receipt, and
Yes.
then what does account payable person initially does? Can you tell me that step-by-step procedure, like how this again account payable person has to create some document in Ariba?
No, he not to create. Once reconciliation is done, so he has to monitor this reconciliation process. Once his reconciliation is done, so it will go for OK to pay. So once he get this OK to pay, he'll move it for payment. So as of now, in India and major countries, payment Ariba Pay is not there. So payment will be taken care in other any other backend system, other payment system. So as of now, payments are not there in India and many other countries. So payment will be done in other backend system. Getting my point? So he generates OK to pay once invoice is reconciled, he generates one form called OK to pay. So once it is generated, it will be sent to any backend system. According to the requirement, it will be sent to any backend system. From there, payments will be done. Or otherwise,
one doubt. Supplier creates an invoice. Then immediately after supplier creating an invoice, approval flow gets triggered for invoice reconciliation.
No, it will after invoice generated, it will be sent to network, right? Invoice won't be directly sent to buyer solution. It will be sent to network. At network, it will automatically reconcile. If there is any issues, if there is any exceptions, then it will trigger a approval flow or approval person. Whoever person is responsible, it will send to that person. So now his responsibility is to review that invoice and check whether if there is any exception which is very high, he has to check. If there is no issues or if there is any huge exception, you send it back to supplier. If there is minimal exception, he'll just ask. He can approve that invoice and do the payments. So invoice reconciliation will be done on network side. We have to set invoice rules and regulations, payment rules and regulations. So it will be taken care by network itself.
Okay. So account payable person means he's from supplier end, account payable person.
No, it could be from supplier and then buyer, and also will have account payable person.
Okay. So once the invoice is generated, once the invoice is approved, suppose there are some exceptions, then Ariba throws an error, so and so something, and even the approver feels that there is no much issue with this, is complying with our organization, this much can be tolerated. So he approves it. And what is the next step? Immediate step?
Go for payments.
So a document will be generated in ECC. A document gets generated in ECC.
Yeah,
the same with the vendor information.
Exactly. If there is integration in place, document will be generated in ECC.
And then can you explain further after that the next immediate step in ECC, like how the payment happens through bank
exactly how payments happens? I also don't have any idea because it takes place in ECC. As far as I work, it takes place in ECC or whatever backend system they have. So up to Ariba, I can explain payments, but
Sure. Okay, no issues. Okay. Okay. So the thing is, only once the invoice is approved, only it gets that invoice gets posted in ECC.
Yeah, any backend system, not only ECC, any backend system
Okay.
can.
Any backend. Okay. 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 Go ahead,
So,
Rakesh.
and at the time of invoicing, maybe you are having so many questions in invoicing. We'll discuss in invoicing part. I mean, once we are done, because it's not a. I can show you the complete process, but in bits and pieces, because we don't have network access to show the complete process. Getting my point? So we should have a network access to complete the entire process from supplier and from buyer, and like from requisition to how it will be converted to PO and how shipping notice will be sent to buyer. Once we receive the goods, how we send the receipt, and how supplier will send the invoice. So for that we should have a network access. I'll show you. I'll try to show you complete process, but in bits and pieces. I mean, I'll create one requisition, I'll show another PO, I'll show another, invoice in that way. Okay? To try to connect each and every phase. Getting my point? Hello?
Yeah, 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 okay. Actually, I was on mute, so it is taking time for me to reply.
Okay, okay. So Karthik, from tomorrow, at what time it will be easy? Day after tomorrow.
What, Rakesh?
From the day
Hello.
after tomorrow. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me now? Hello? Hello?
Yes, 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 Rakesh, I could hear you. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm asking from day after tomorrow, what time is okay for you?
Same 8 o'clock is fine. Can we have a session tomorrow, Rakesh? Because day after tomorrow, I'm not sure. Can we have at least a 45-minute session tomorrow at your feasible time?
Okay, so 8 o'clock you're saying, right?
Yes, yes. Because again, next week, the thing is, next week I'm preoccupied with so many things. So I'm thinking at least we can cover 2, 3 sessions this week, and we have 1 or 2 sessions next week.
Okay, okay. So tomorrow from 8 to 9 we can have, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Rakesh, can we have some more 15 minutes now? I have some doubts actually.
Yeah, yeah,
If
go
it
ahead.
is okay to you. Actually,
Yeah,
can you send this document, Rakesh? It will be very helpful if you could
yeah.
send,
Actually, I
because
was about to tell you, but I am also a little busy with my project work, so keep
yeah,
on
yeah,
forgetting.
yeah.
So I'll
Actually,
definitely do that once
I,
we are finished the
I
system.
know, like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, because once you leave the session, again you'll be occupied with other works, and again at night when you come back to home only you can,
Before
do it.
sleep,
But
yeah,
then
before
again it's difficult.
remember.
But then again it's difficult. Again, we don't have that much energy to open your laptop and do all these things, right?
Exactly, exactly. Anyhow, I come from office by 10 or 10:30, 11 o'clock in that time. That time
Yeah,
coming and having food and just sleeping. Again, getting
yeah,
up
yeah,
early. So yeah,
yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead. You are having thoughts with something.
Yeah, Rakesh, if you have any document, any basic document, procurement document related to this blanket purchase order, not even Ariba, any Ariba or non, blanket purchase order is the same, right? Anywhere it is.
Exactly, exactly. That's what I was
So,
discussing with Kasi. See, business process remains the same. Today we have one tool, tomorrow the tool might change. but the business process, the standard business process remains the same. See the presentation this one, the complete cycle. If you go for any other process, any manual process, or if you want to compare it with any other tool, the business process remains the same, but the functionality features the tool is providing might differ from tool to tool. Getting your point?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah. Okay. So I had a question.
Hello.
Rakesh, can you tell me this generally how this validation happens? Is it before PR submission to ECC or after approval flow?
For what validation?
Like suppose my vendor master data, accounting data comes from backend to ECC or any ERP to Ariba system, right?
Yes, yes.
So my vendors or via vendor block or GL block for posting, or account assignment category block for such issues, comes into Ariba. So such validation happens real time with ECC, or it happens like it happens once we submit the PR. Then
No, no, no.
validation happens, or only after the approval flow.
No, no. Approval flow is not required for that. It's real
No,
time.
no, 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 no. No. I'm not telling approval flow. After the approval flow, when the PO has to be generated, that time the validation takes place, or immediately after we click on submit button, just before approval
Before
flow.
submitting only. Before submitting only. I'll tell you how.
So that means it's a real time validation, real time.
Exactly. Real time validation. See what happens when
That
we select this field, accounting field. I mean, it will comes automatically from ECC, right? So if we select some wrong line item or some wrong company code, so this accounting field automatically gets into red mark and populates as one error. So it is a real-time synchronization. You need not to submit it. You won't be able to submit first of all. Once all these accounting fields are in place, company codes are in place, then only you will be able to submit the requisition
okay, okay,
for
okay, okay,
approval.
and okay, okay.
So real-time validation will be there. You need not to do that. Our system automatically checks, because mappings will be already done. I mean, for this account, for this profit center, this company code is attached or whatever. The the series are there in the system. Whatever there in the ECC, it will be automatically validated here in Ariba.
Like, what are the common account assignment category issues, split account assignment category issues we have in SRM? So, can you explain that in Ariba, like what do you have this account assignment category issues?
Account assignment in the sense, we have GL account which is mapped to company, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just a minute. Don't know what happened. Otherwise, I would have shown you in the system. It's not working. Site is not working. Generally, Ariba don't have any accounting details, any profit center, nothing which is related to finance.
Yeah.
Ariba doesn't contain any accounting field. That is the reason we have to put it back in ECC. Otherwise, it could be Ariba itself could be a ECC if it is having a financial details or financial accounting. That's the reason SAP is not, introducing accounting details in Ariba. Otherwise, nobody will go for ECC if it's having accounting details and
That's why they're not
other.
building it here.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. And more
So
of this inventory management also. They don't have they are
that
not building inventory management. Like Coupa has
so
inventory
the reason
management.
behind they are not having inventory management or demand planning, demand aggregation. Ariba is mainly used for indirect spend.
Uh-huh.
Getting the
Okay.
point? Indirect spend,
Uh-huh.
and for indirect spend, generally companies don't need demand aggregation or demand planning or forecasting. It's not required for indirect spend. These are mainly required for direct spend.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is also reason because if they introduce that in here, then nobody will go for other SAP modules or ECC modules.
Uh-huh. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So accounting details, whatever there in ECC, all those are carried out as it is.
Yeah, I want to know common pushback errors like we could the PR didn't get PO didn't get generated of a PR, and it is because account assignment category or split account assignment category, all such issues.
It won't give some logs or errors like that. It will just give a warning message here. Likewise, we were when we are creating insourcing project, you can see if there is an error in top, you can see red block where two errors are there.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Way
yeah.
we will show you. So I am trying to create one requisition. Okay, I'm selecting. See, these are the catalog items which are available. Okay, I'll start from the beginning.
Who this supplier himself put these images in that Excel sheet of catalog and then uploads it
While
to
while
network.
exactly while creating uh, while creating catalog, he has to put if there is any image regarding this catalog, he can put the image.
Okay.
Excuse me. So I'm trying to create one requisition. It will take me to the catalog page. See, here I have three types. Here I have to select from three types of catalog. One, the catalog which is already available from catalog manager from our solution. Once it's approved, it will be shown. We can add it from non-catalog item, and here we don't have any.
It's working. Charging.
Not working.
This pro charge.
Huh?
Serial.
Yes, go ahead, Rakesh. Just talking to me.
So we can, if there is a punch out item, enabled in our site, buyer site, it will show for a punch out item as well here somewhere. So punch out item will
Huh?
have different symbols.
No, no, I didn't get you. I didn't get you. Punch out enabled. While searching for this catalog, how does it show for punch out enabled? I didn't understand this.
So it will have some symbol. I'll show
Okay,
you
here.
screen.
So
Yeah,
here
here see,
itself.
we don't have any symbols, right? There
Yeah.
you'll find a small symbol which shows that punch out, icon type. It will be having. So if
So
possible,
so
I'll
so
show you in another system. Yeah, tell me.
so even before we go into third-party site for punch-out catalog, here itself we can know that there is an item with punch-out like this, an item that
Yes.
supplier punch-out supplier can provide.
Yes, I mean, if you previously bought any punch out item, so it will show you
Okay.
this is the punch out item you bought previously. If you want this, you have to go again to
Okay,
the
okay.
so
Okay, okay,
historical.
okay, okay. So in the
I'm
catalog
selecting
itself, it shows a history. Okay.
yeah. So I'm selecting this. If you want, you can change the quantity, right? So as simple. So in ECC, is it this was simple? I mean, the specification of the item, the UI. It's not right.
Yeah.
I'm proceeding to checkout. It will take me to the requisition. Now here comes the accounting detail. So this is purchase unit is already coming from backend.
Mhm. Purchasing unit is nothing but a business unit, a legal entity.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, if for suppose see for purchasing unit, my ship to address is Ariba headquarters. So
Okay.
if there is any changes in this, if there is okay, I'm taking this and trying to. I don't know whether it's mapped with this purchasing unit or not. I'm not sure, but still I'm trying my level best. Let's see how it is. So delay purchase until 18. That means I'm sending the requisition. Once it is approved, delay it till 18th of March. Once 18th of March, if it is approved, then go ahead and create a PO. Up to 18th of March, it won't create any PO. Though it is approved,
Okay.
but it won't create any PO. So now I'm trying to create requisition. So these are all the purchasing manager group members. So any one of them, if approving this PR, it will be converted as PO. So it's not mandatory. Everybody has to approve. Uh, so it's not having any mapping. That's the reason it is submitted for requisition. So I'll try to do one thing. Kasi, I'll do one thing, Kasi. Hello.
Yes, 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 Rakesh, go ahead.
I'll I'll try to show you real time, requisition where an actual client one where they have mapped all the accounting fields. Today I cannot show you. I mean, there is a meeting going on with that site. I mean, they are working on that site. So tomorrow I can show you that how the accounting fields are mapped, and uh, if we select wrong accounting field, how errors pop up. I mean, what type of error pop up. Getting my point? Hello.
Yes, yes, right, sir. Yeah.
So any other queries you have? so that we can discuss
How?
it tomorrow.
Okay, okay. Last one. How do we go to
Yeah,
punch out catalog? Punch out catalog.
yeah. That also I'll show you tomorrow.
Okay,
Because
no issues.
in this site, as a punch out is not enabled, I'll
Okay,
show you in that.
okay.
Okay.
No issues.
Any
Okay,
other
Rakesh. Thank you.
doubt?
Oh, nothing, nothing else. We'll discuss it tomorrow then. So, Rakesh,
If you have any doubt, just let me know. I mean, regarding this PO related or any payment related, just let me know. I'll definitely provide some documents. You just go through that. If you still have any doubts, we'll discuss it. Okay.
so Rakesh, like before closing your laptop, can you please send this, procure P2Pay document? I'll go through it before I attend tomorrow's session.
Sure, sure. Good.
P2P or blanket purchase order, limit order.
I'll do that right away.
Okay. Thanks, Rakesh. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Bye. Have a nice day. Karthik,
Yes, yes, Rakesh. Tell me.
so tomorrow 8
Hello.
o'clock, right?
Yes, yes.
Tomorrow 8 o'clock, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So please don't mind and I mean, please be on time because we'll be
Sure,
finishing.
sure.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so
I'll be
see.
on time. Actually, in Bangalore, it was raining yesterday heavily, so there is an issue with internet
Is
connection.
it?
Yeah, yeah. It was raining heavily yesterday in Bangalore.
That's the reason it was, little cool here. I mean, cool breeze was going here.
Hyderabad,
Chalo?
is it? In
Yeah, yeah, in
Hyderabad.
Hyderabad. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay. Rakesh, can I ask you one question? Actually, do you know any Ariba consultants? Because we are in our company, we are looking for Ariba consultants. Actually, my one of my team, like team who sits beside me, they're asking like if Ariba architect
We
position, if
didn't
there is
hear
anyone.
something.
They need 7 or 6 years of experience. Actually, they are discussing yesterday. And they were telling to me, if you know, you can also tell us like that. They are telling.
Sure, sure. I'll let you know if any reference is there.
Okay. Okay.
7 or 8 years
Bye.
of functional experience, is it?
About 6 years. About 6 years.
Oh, okay. I'll let you know. Oh, Karthik.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks,
Bye.
Karthik. Bye.
Welcome. Bye.